In a small classroom in Tanganyika on January 30th, 1962, three schoolgirls heard a joke. They started to giggle, a normal, happy sound. But then, they couldn't stop. The giggling turned into loud, booming laughter. It went on for an hour, then for a whole day. They were laughing so hard they were crying, doubled over in pain, unable to eat or sleep. This wasn't fun anymore. It was a nightmare. Let's be very clear. This wasn't happy laughter. It was a medical symptom, a bizarre kind of seizure. The laughter would come in waves, completely out of their control. And when the laughing stopped, it was followed by screaming, crying, and total exhaustion. The girls were terrified. Imagine trying to take a breath, but all that comes out is a laugh you don't want. Their muscles ached from the constant shaking. They were trapped inside their own bodies, forced to laugh while feeling nothing but fear. This all started in a tiny, remote village called Kashasha. It happened at an all-girls boarding school, a place that was supposed to be a symbol of a bright new future. The school was in the brand new country of Tanganyika, which is now Tanzania, and the students there were under a mountain of pressure. These weren't rich kids with easy lives. They were the first generation with a real chance at education. Their families had saved every single coin they had to send them there. These girls carried the hopes of their entire villages on their young shoulders. Failure was not an option. Can you even imagine that kind of weight? And the school itself was incredibly strict. The rules were tough. The hours were long. There were almost no breaks, no time for fun, no way to let off steam. It was just study, 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 all day, every day. So you have this building deep in the countryside packed with teenagers. They are filled with stress, worried about their families, and scared of the future. The school wasn't a school, it was a pressure cooker. Finally, the school shut down. The teachers, totally freaked out, sent all the girls home to their families. This was the worst mistake they could have possibly made. One infected girl went back to her home village of Nshamba. Soon after, 217 people in her village were struck down by the exact same laughing sickness. It wasn't just girls anymore. It was grown men, women, and the elderly, all laughing and crying uncontrollably. The laughter spread from person to person. But how? That was the part that baffled everyone. The best scientists and doctors flew in. They tested the water. They tested the food. They even tested the air for some kind of poison or strange germ. They found absolutely nothing. The secret was so simple, it was scary. The sickness didn't travel in the water or the air. It traveled through sight and sound. That's it. To catch it, all you had to do was see someone else laughing or just hear them. A giggle from another room could be enough to set you off. And this wasn't some weird one-week event. This laughing epidemic raged for 18 months, a year and a half. It was a slow-motion disaster that nobody could stop. It just kept going, a crazy wave of unstoppable giggles. It got so bad that the government had to act. They didn't just close one school. In total, 14 different schools were forced to shut down. This laughing fit disrupted the lives of thousands of people, all because of a joke that wasn't even funny. Let's be clear, calling it laughter is way too simple. This was not a happy sound. The attacks were intense, and they could last for hours, or even up to 16 days straight for a single person. Imagine that, 16 days. The symptoms were a bizarre grab bag of misery. People would have fits of random screaming. They would faint. There were reports of rashes and even moments of strange violence. Victims would just start running around with no purpose, completely out of their minds. The authorities were totally desperate. They had no idea what to do. So they ran every single medical test they could think of. They took blood samples from hundreds of people. They took swabs from walls, desks, and the dirt outside. And every single test came back negative. Not a single clue. There was no germ. There was no poison in the food. There was no weird plant causing it. From a purely medical point of view, every single person was perfectly healthy. So here is the mind-bending secret your history teacher was too afraid to tell you. The cause wasn't in their bodies at all. The sickness was in their heads. It was an idea that had become real, a feeling that had become contagious. It has a name. Scientists call it mass psychogenic illness. That's a fancy term for mass hysteria. Basically, the huge unspoken stress these students were under had to go somewhere. Their brains found a very strange way to let it all out. So, what was this bizarre thing? The answer has a fancy sciencey name, mass psychogenic illness. That sounds big and complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. It was a sickness of the mind that was pretending to be a sickness of the body. It means there was no germ, no virus. The problem wasn't in the water or the food. It was in their heads. And honestly, that's way, way scarier than any regular sickness. So how does a thought spread like the flu? Think of it like a contagious yawn. When you see someone yawn, your brain's little copycat parts often make you yawn too. This was a yawn of pure anxiety. The students and villagers were so stressed, their brains were looking for any way out. When other stressed out people saw this bizarre laughing, their own brains just copied it. It was a chain reaction of panic, a wildfire of weirdness jumping from person to person. This whole insane story is a shocking reminder. The connection between our minds and our bodies is way weirder and more powerful than we ever think. It's a secret remote control we don't even know we have. We believe we are in control. We think we tell our hands to move and our legs to walk. But a little bit of stress in the right place can make our bodies do things that make absolutely no sense at all. They can just go completely rogue. So how did they cure it? What miracle medicine finally stopped 1,000 people from laughing themselves into total exhaustion? What was the amazing solution? The answer is, there wasn't one. They didn't cure it. There was no medicine, no magic fix. After 18 long months of pure chaos, the laughing fits just stopped. They simply faded away. The epidemic vanished as mysteriously as it began. To this day, nobody can definitively say why it started on that specific day with those 3 girls, or why a year and a half later, it just got tired and went home. It's a ghost in the pages of history. A reminder that sometimes the strangest force in the universe isn't some far-off star. It's the human mind when it gets pushed just a little too far. But here's the wildest part. The laughing sickness of Tanganyika wasn't a one-time thing. It was an echo, a strange, hilarious echo of something that has happened again and again throughout history. Our minds sometimes just break in the weirdest ways. So a laughing fit is one thing. But what if it wasn't laughter? What if instead of giggling, an entire town just started dancing and couldn't stop? Ever. Let's jump back in time. We're in Strasbourg, a city in France, in the year 1518. One day, a woman named Frau Trophea walked into the street and just started dancing. No music, no party, just her, dancing alone. And she didn't stop. Within a week, 34 other people had joined her. By the end of the month, 400 people were dancing in the streets. They danced day and night, their feet bleeding, their bodies aching. They couldn't stop. The town leaders were baffled. They thought the cure was to let them dance it out. So they built a giant wooden stage. They even hired musicians to play music. Their big idea was to fix the problem. With more dancing, this was a terrible idea. The non-stop movement was too much. People began collapsing. They died from heart attacks, from strokes, from pure exhaustion. The stage meant to cure them became a place where they danced themselves to death. So what connects a laughing epidemic in Africa with a deadly dance party in France? They are both examples of the same bizarre thing. They show how a feeling, a stress, a fear, a panic can become physically contagious. It can leap from person to person like a ghost. Scientists today have a name for this. They call it mass psychogenic illness. That's a fancy way of saying sickness from the mind that spreads. It's not a germ or a virus. It's an idea, a shared stress that makes a whole group of people physically sick. Think about it. Have you ever been in a room where one person yawns and suddenly everyone else starts yawning? Or how panic can spread through a crowd in seconds? It's that same power, but cranked up to a terrifying level. It shows that the scariest things aren't always monsters or ghosts. Sometimes the most powerful and dangerous force is our own mind, shared with hundreds of other people. And when that shared mind gets an idea stuck in it, history gets very, very weird.